Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with what will for a while be my last review of a David Cronenberg film. I have all the ones I'm really interested in, except for Shivers, because that's been out of print for a while. There's a couple other ones I wouldn't mind seeing, but I'm not in any big rush. But the last one I wanted to check out was Dead Ringers from 1988. I'm already stuffy. Now, this is going to be a weird review because I kind of understand this film. Now, it's categorized as a psychological body horror film. Psychological, I get. This is totally a psychological film. It's not a horror film. I guess it could be like a light psychological thriller. It's a psychological drama. That's essentially what it is. The only body horror really is the psychological element. There's really like maybe two scenes that are really 70s and 80s body horror Cronenberg. But it's a very well-made flick. Of course, this is based on a book called Twins by Bari Wood and Jack Geasland. So yeah, this is one of the few Cronenberg films I have, like one of 3 that Cronenberg didn't write. It's based on someone else's source material. And it tells the story of these 2 identical twins, both played by Jeremy Irons. Wonderful, wonderful acting portrayal of Jeremy Irons in both roles. He plays Elliot and Beverly Mantle. Yep. His name's Beverly. It's kind of weird. And, yeah, they're identical twins. They both have their own gynecology practice. They have one of the best, most well-reviewed, sounds stupid, a gynecology practice. And that's one thing about this movie is it feels like 1988. This movie's super 80s. And I mean that in like a Wall Street, American Psycho kind of way. Like their clinic or their penthouse, it's very yuppie looking. Which is strange because it takes place in Toronto. It's a Cronenberg film, so it takes place in Canada. But it does have that sort of 80s New York, Wall Street kind of feel. Actually, in the beginning, when you first see their dining room, it kind of looks like the Dietz's dining room in Beetlejuice after they transformed their house into looking like a yuppie house. But anyway, there are these 2 identical twins who have lived their entire lives sharing every experience. You have Elliot, who is the more dominant one. He's more confident, cocky, cynical. And Beverly, or Bev, is shy, introverted, submissive. And they literally do share every experience. Like, Elliot will seduce women in their practice. He seduces women, and then when he's done with them, he passes them down to the submissive Bev. And the women don't know. I mean, it is clear in this that, you know, it's like Mantle Brothers Clinic, or like it's known that it's run by twins. I apologize for how I sound, by the way. I am so fucking stuffed up. I feel like I got concrete my sinuses. But yeah, the women don't know that they're being played that way. Until this famous movie star, Claire DeVoe, played by Genevieve Brujold. Hope I pronounced that right. And that is the first time Bev feels love. It's not just like a hand-me-down girl until she gets bored of his submissiveness and leaves. He's actually in love with her. And so now you sort of have... That kind of causes... there was a phrase I was looking for, but I can't think of it. Not Elliot. Bev thinks that this is gonna cause a disturbance in the force, I guess. You know, it's actually, Elliot even says at one point it's uncharted territory. She eventually finds out, but she's willing to continue a relationship with Bev. But throughout their relationship, you know, she introduces him to prescription drugs. And that's also why I think it's very like 80s kind of yuppie, because there is that sort of excess. It's not really cocaine like that sort of lifestyle is usually stereotyped as. But he goes way down the rabbit hole in drugs. And I guess it's sort of a study of struggle of individuality. It is, I mean, watching this, this was the first time I've ever seen this. I was kind of disappointed. I thought it was going to be more of, like, I knew it was going to be a character study. I got that. But I figured it was going to have more Cronenberg body horror tropes. Like, there is one part after they start dating, and it's, you sort of get the idea that it's like he's abandoning one relationship for another. So he has this dream where the three of them are in bed together. And both twins, they have like this Siamese attachment. And Claire goes down to bite it off and, you know, get some blood. That's his dream. That's sort of towards the end of the first act. So like, oh, okay, yeah, this movie's gonna go places. But, so then he starts to stay with her. She goes off to shoot a movie. He calls her and her gay secretary answers. And he's hopped up on whatever, so he thinks she's having an affair. He goes way off the rocker. I mean, he is just so out of it. And Jeremy Irons does a great job at really, you know, like, because, of course, I mean, picture Christian Bale in American Psycho. Combed hair, clean shaved, suit. That's both Jeremy Irons' twins. But Bev starts, you know, getting pale with bags under his eyes, and stubble, and messy hair, twitchy and shaky, and more paranoid about everything. And I'm guessing it's just all because he can't deal with his own individuality. He's had this thing sharing every experience with his twin that would, you know, he found a woman that he loves. He's going to start a life with her. He could handle it. She introduced him to drugs. He had never done drugs before, and that's what happened to him. And it gets to the point where, oh, and then Elliot gets chosen to, like, go up the ladder as far as the medical practice goes. Like, he gets to go around teaching gynecology. And Bev has to stay behind and teach. Not teach, practice. And, like, there's this one scene where he's using a an outward instrument on the insides of this one woman, and it's hurting her. And he doesn't understand, like he's using the wrong tools. He thinks, in his mind, because it is said when we first meet Claire, she has like a, does it say on the back? Because I don't remember what the hell it was. She has like a tri-something cervix. Her cervix is in a very rare shape. And that's fucking him up. So he thinks, because the tools, he's using the wrong tools, so he thinks that mixed with her cervix, that women are just now becoming mutated. And he gets this vision. He goes into this art gallery for metal. And he has these drawings of these gynecologist tools, but looking like a mixture of something Freddy Krueger and Satan would make. Imagine a gynecologist hook, if they have a hook, but it looks like a big skeletal, jagged finger, and just like Spanish Inquisition torture devices made out of steel. And when they do surgeries, tying tubes or whatever, they all wear red, red hoods and gowns. So there's this scene where he gets his instruments made, and then he gets the red gown, and he's gonna go use them, and he's all hopped up on drugs, and he's yelling at his assistants because they don't understand the tools, and he's falling asleep on drugs, or he's too hopped up. So he grabs the anesthesia off the patient to huff it. He collapses on her, and she starts bleeding. She could have died. Whole practice is fucked up. And then Elliot has to pretend to be him to apologize. No one's buying it. And I mean, by this point, Jeremy Irons, he's hugging his knees and rocking back and forth. He's all jittery. He does a fantastic job acting. He really does. Especially in scenes where he's like that and Elliot is still, straight-headed. But then this is where the movie gets kind of off, because Elliot, who started a relationship with this another woman, he thinks he has to synchronize with him. He says, we've shared every experience. In his head, it's anything that goes through him has to go through me. So he starts taking drugs. He starts going down. And I don't want to give too much of it away, because this is a very well-made film. But spoiler alert, but I will say I can recommend it. If you think you're going to get The Fly or Videodrome or Scanners or The Brood, you're going to be disappointed. This is more of a David Lynch film. This feels a lot more like David Lynch. David Cronen-Lynch. Especially the scene, because we have multiple scenes with the red gowns and hoods and operating. It's very David Lynch. But it's beautifully acted. Well made. Looks good. It does draw you in with its characters. But when Elliot starts taking the drugs, that's where it gets really kind of confusing and you don't know where it's going to go. But spoilers here. So yeah, if you like Cronenberg and Lynch, then definitely check it out. But so eventually, Claire comes back, calls him, says, I did have an affair, explains it out. So Bev goes back to her, and he starts feeling better. But then he thinks Elliot isn't going to allow him to see her. So he goes back to Elliot, and then they both start doing drugs together. And they're both in a drugged up stupor eating cake, and then they take Bev's tools that he had made and they separate Siamese twins. And this could have been a little bit more David Cronenberg, because they're in their clinic, and by the way, their clinic is fucking trashed. I don't know how much time has gone by, but there is just food and wrappers and garbage and shit everywhere. I mean, it is like fear-loathing hotel room trashed. So Elliot is sitting in the patient's seat. He gives him the morphine, I guess. Then he takes a tool and he starts cutting into his torso. Now, if they had showed, like, the gore and everything, probably would have taken away from the mood and the atmosphere. Like, it probably would have felt a little too much like Videodrome or The Brood, where this is more of a character study. But you find out Elliot dies. He, did surgery he didn't need. And we see him in the background all cut up and splayed out. So then Elliot, Bev, goes to, he cleans himself up, goes out to a payphone to call Claire. But when she answers, he can't do it. He hangs up. He goes back inside, and he just sits down with Elliot on top of him, dead. And I don't know if he, I'm actually going to look that up, because I actually want to... Okay. So, yeah. He dies of drug withdrawal with Elliot draped over him. So now they're dead. Now they're like Siamese twins, because, they're like that. And I'm guessing it's just a struggle with individuality. Like, that's what I'm getting from it. I mean, I understand this is probably, you could probably take a number of things away from it. At first, it was kind of hard to get used to, because in the beginning, they do switch off a lot. They pretend to be the other one, because this is like back when their lives were normal, before things get all messed up. It was kind of hard to get used to who is who, but this is a very engaging film. I was very much invested into it. Jeremy Irons, I know he was nominated for several awards. He should have at least been nominated for an Oscar. He would have deserved at least a nomination. Great score by Howard Shore, of course. It's a Cronenberg film. And, yeah, Red, just... The dream sequence felt like Cronenberg, but the rest just really felt like a David Lynch film. And, I really enjoyed it. I was disappointed that it wasn't more of a horror film, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. If you're a fan of Cronenberg, regardless, then yeah, you're probably gonna think this is one of his finest films, because it is. It is one of his finest acted, and it really felt artsy too, like the way sex and paranoia and artsy in the same way that Eyes Wide Shut is. And so yeah, if you like Cronenberg regardless, check it out. If you're more like me, Fly, Scanners, Videodrome, you might be disappointed. But, I mean, that's the only reason why I was disappointed, was it wasn't more of a horror film. But I still thought it was very good. Very, even as a drama, I thought it was very good. And, yeah. Or if you're into really David Lynch style films, then definitely check it out, because it felt more like David Lynch to me than Cronenberg. But and it was very confusing. I still don't quite understand it. I mean, not in the same sense as like a Videodrome is a film I still don't understand, but that feels like a Cronenberg film. But yeah, again, as a drama, a psychological, tragic drama, very solid flick. So yeah, my last for a while until I really pick up. The only other ones I'd be interested in seeing would be Crash and Spider. Existence, not really, but yeah, Dead Ringers. It's not a horror film, but it's a good psychological character study by David Cronenberg that feels like David Lynch. So anyway, thank you for watching.